everybody, welcome to my dojo. I hope you like it. It took me a long time to set up. My main objective for this video is to help you understand what took me almost 10 years to figure out. Just a little bit of background, I went to Wagner College for 4 years and got a bachelor's degree. I studied food psychology and eating disorders and eating behaviors, and I looked at all the research regarding nutritional science and exercise science. Not only that, but I'm also a former fat guy. If you don't believe me, here's a quick picture. So, camera's having trouble adjusting, but I think you get the idea. So let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and address our attention to the whiteboard. This is where it all starts and ends. I know your eyes probably want to look everywhere and read all this, but I'll strongly urge you not to do that. Simply listen to my voice. Let me take you on a tour of fitness. This video is going to have 4 parts: the process, the problem, the answer, and the example. I know you're probably most interested in the answer, but we're going to save that for later. But I'll give you a quick sample. I'll give you a little bit of a taste. There's 3 things that this is all going to boil down to that you need to do and you need to adhere to be able to improve your body composition, lose some fat, gain a little bit of muscle, and still have freedom and still be able to live your life and eat the foods that you want to eat. I myself subscribe to the diet that we're going to talk about, or the food method strategy that we're going to talk about, and we're going to start right over here at fitness. Fitness can be broken down into weight loss and weight gain. We're going to talk in this video about weight loss, not weight gain, because weight loss is what most people have an issue with. So what is weight loss? It's actually kind of insane. Weight loss, right, losing weight is serious. It's your body's survival mechanism. We put on fat for a reason. In today's society, in 2019, we have refrigerators. I have a supermarket down the block. In other words, we have a surplus of food. We have an abundance of food. If I think about my parents and my grandparents, yeah, they probably have, they've also probably had a surplus of food and refrigerators and whatnot. But before them, their grandparents and their grandparents and their grandparents, I remember hearing when I was a kid about how my great-grandfather came over to this country with $17 in his pocket, or he had to wait online for milk and bread, right? That tells me that they did not have a surplus of food. They did not have an abundance of food. And if they didn't have an abundance of food, our ancestors and hunter-gatherers, the nomads, you gotta assume that they didn't have a surplus of food either. And the last thing that they were worried about was losing weight to look better. They didn't care about that, right? So what I'm trying to say is thousands and thousands of years since this stuff started, or generations and generations and generations of people did anything in their power, anything that they could to avoid starving. And in 2019, people starved themselves on purpose. Let that sink in for a second. It's crazy. It's not only that we starve ourselves on purpose to look good, but we are also hurting ourselves. We're messing with our body's survival mechanism, and it's not something to be toyed around with or manipulated with. And people get upset when we start suffering the bad consequences that come as a result of that. This stuff is serious, and that's why it's so important that you listen and you watch the rest of this video. So, weight loss, how to lose weight and the result of losing weight. America's results and what actually happens physiologically as a result of us losing weight, what happens to our bodies. How to lose weight, let's start there. How to lose weight, the 3-headed dragon. Supplements, exercise, and diet. Let's start with my personal favorite, supplements. That's what most people ask about, right? Oh, what kind of supplements you're taking? That's really the go-to question. But the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, bad, and ugly part of supplements. The good, let's talk about it quick. Protein powder and water. You say to yourself, oh, water is not really a supplement. Well, you're right, it's not. They don't sell it in a bottle at a store and put a fancy label on it and sell it to you for $80 for one little bottle. But we're not going to be using water in the general sense of, oh, you got to drink a gallon of water a day and stay hydrated and just drink more fluids. That's not what I'm talking about. We're going to use water later on in the answer as a secret weapon. You're not going to see it coming. It's going to be completely unique. It's going to be a surprise, but you are going to say, oh wow, that makes sense. Water is good for that purpose. Protein powder. Protein powder is good. It's a useful tool, but it's not the end-all be-all. People think, oh, what protein should I use? That's not how this stuff works. Just because you have some kind of protein powder doesn't gonna flick the fat loss switch in your body. That's not what it's gonna do. It's simply a useful tool. We're going to come back to protein later. The bad part of supplements. Take it from somebody who worked in a supplement shop for over 2 years. Anything that you see in a supplement shop, I don't care if it's a best fat burner, best selling thing on TV, best selling thing by this doctor or whoever, and it's got this fancy label, anything that you see in an entire supplement store, the best product in there will give you at most a 0.5% advantage. A 0.5%. You don't want to worry about something as insignificant as a 0.5%. You want to worry about the meat, the brunt of it. You want to worry about the meat and potatoes. You want to worry about the big part, right? The diet and the exercise, but more so the diet. So let's go into exercise. The 3 parts of exercising: toning, mobility, and cardio. Toning. I gotta tone my muscle. I want to lose some belly fat. I want to flatten my stomach, lose my love handles, and just tone up my arms, right? A lot of people say that. I know what they mean when they say they want to tone up, but it doesn't make sense. Toning is not a real thing. What somebody means to say when they say they want to tone up and improve the shape of a muscle or the look of a muscle, that is a result of resistance training, of strength training, of lifting weights. Don't get scared. I'm not talking about lifting heavy weights or pushing around barbells and dumbbells and stuff. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm just referring to like powerlifter, bodybuilder stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. But resistance training is what's going to shape a muscle and give it that aesthetic, pleasing to the eye look. So toning. So what kind of exercises do you have to do to tone a muscle in regards to resistance training? Well, it depends. Do you want to go to the gym or do you not want to go to the gym? If you want to go to the gym, there's 6 basic movement patterns that you should get used to, that you have to get good at before you do anything else. And those 6 exercises are going to build your body and sculpt it from head to toe. And it's not going to leave out a single thing. This is a completely different conversation. This is a completely different video. If you're interested and you want to learn more, you want to make another video, you want me to answer one of your personal questions about it, simply subscribe to me on Twitch at Fitness Streamer, or Instagram at Fitness Streamer, or email me at fitnessstreamer@gmail.com. This is totally free. I do online coaching for free because people out there need help, and I just love talking about this stuff. Next part is no gym. What can you do? What exercises can you do if you don't want to go to the gym? If you want to stay home and you don't want to spend money on a gym membership, that's a-okay. That's no problem as well. There's 2 exercises that you should kind of hone in on and get good at if you want to do them at home. I've been doing them for years when I want to take a week off from the gym here and there, and they really are my bread and butter. Next, mobility. What this refers to is injury prevention. Everybody in America has the same symptoms: neck pain, back pain, hip pain, joint pain, and it's all for a reason. It's not a coincidence. Everyone falls victim to the same patterns, and there's also 6 really easy stretches or mobility exercises that you can do to alleviate those symptoms and to put your body back where it needs to be, like a baby, like a child. If you ever look at a baby or a child, they're very flexible and limber, and they probably don't have back, hip, knee pain, joint pain. Next, cardio. Don't worry about cardio. It is a tool. I'm not saying cardio is a bad thing. It's great for improving, health markers like your blood work, and for somebody who goes to the doctor and they say, hey, listen, you're at risk for heart disease, that's a different story. You might want to implement some cardio. If you're a college athlete or an athlete who has to improve their cardiovascular endurance, cardio is a great thing, sure. But as far as weight loss goes and losing body fat, it's not essential. Cardio is simply a tool. We're not going to be doing any cardio in this program whatsoever. Let's move on to the final and most important part, a diet, right? What is a diet? Well, we're going to talk about 2 different methods of dieting, and that's really all there is. There's 2 methods, a direct method of dieting and an indirect method of dieting. We'll discuss the difference, but not yet. So let's try to encompass in a couple of sentences what a diet actually is. A diet is a way of saying self-control, controlling your food, controlling what you eat, portion control, trying to have a grasp on your appetite, right? In other words, trying to either restrict or to handle what's going into your mouth. There's this, but a lot of people fall victim to it, and that's what we're going to discuss in the problem, because diets are kind of dangerous. Self-control, right? Diet, self-control, diet, self-control. There's a Bible verse, Proverbs 23:2, that says, if you're someone who gives into your own appetite, that's like you holding a knife to your own neck. In other words, if you don't control your appetite is going to control you. And here's a great example of that. You ever go to a dinner party, or you go to a wedding, or you go to just hang out at somebody's house, and there's chips or a pizza or this or that, and somebody's got it in front of them, and they have a piece or they have some food, and then 10 minutes later they're like, oh, get these away from me. And then they push them away, and then everyone starts talking about like whatever, and then they, you notice them in the corner, they start grabbing for the chips again, and then they have a couple more and say, oh, get these away from me. And then a couple minutes later, that we've all been there, we've all done that. That person is lacking self-control, but it's not their fault. It's for a reason, and that is also part of the problem. So let's talk about the results in regards to everybody who tries to get on the diet. Let's talk about the results that they see. America's results. Here are some statistics. Well, in 2019, the average woman is the same weight as a man was from 1955. Another interesting statistic is that, well, this one's kind of sad, but the biggest contributor to mortality rates in America is heart disease. And the biggest contributor to heart disease are obesity-related illnesses. So pretty much obesity, or being morbidly obese or overweight, is what's killing most Americans, and it's actually very sad. Third and final statistic that we're going to talk about is talked about a lot by this guy named Dr. Lane Norton, who's really, really great, and he talks about how people, they can lose weight, but keeping it off is the hard part. 95% of people who go on a diet or try to improve their body composition will lose some weight, but 95% of them, after a few years, will gain back that weight. And then 75% of the 95% of people, so 75%, 3/4 of the 95% of people who fail, 3/4 of them will shoot past the body fat that they had in the first place. So it was as if it would be better if they never went on a diet in the first place. It's weird. It's almost suspicious. So why does this happen? Why is it so hard to lose weight? It shouldn't be that hard. Statistically, it is easier to go to college to get a bachelor's degree and then get your master's degree and go to 5 years worth of school than it is to lose 10 pounds and keep it off for a few years. Yeah, so you see why I made this video. People need help, right? So the problem, let's talk about it. So you will see I have a nice little graph here. Maybe you weren't too good at graphs in high school, whatever. Me neither. No, don't worry about it. But I'm going to explain everything. It's really, really simple, and we're going to take it step by step. We have 3 lines. We have your metabolism, this little black solid line. We have your food, which is this purple perforated line. Then we have your body fat, which is this orange dotted line. We got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 is phase 4. Imagine a 30-year-old person who never went on a diet before, but they met somebody, they want to flatten their stomach, and they want to look a little bit better, and they just want to feel good about themselves because it's the new year, and they want to get back on the horse, right? Well, imagine that they've never been on a diet before. Phase 1, everything's in perfect homeostasis. Notice the 3 lines are at the same level. Their metabolism, the food that they're eating, and their body fat are all in check. What does that mean? Well, they get full when they've had enough food, and they get hungry when they need food. And those signals are kind of very in tune. Their body's in good equilibrium, like a child. Think about a child. You ever give a child a cookie? And we can learn something from children. It's quite amazing. A child is like, a child's hunger signals and satiation signals are very strong. They get them almost ASAP, almost immediately. You ever give a kid a cookie and they take a bite out of the cookie and they take another bite out of the cookie and then they say, I'm done, and they leave it on the table with the wrapper, and you're like, what? I could eat like 30 of those cookies and I still wouldn't be full. They got full really, really quick. Whereas us, we're a little bit older, we're bigger, whatever, and we've been through what we're going to talk about. That's really the problem, is that we don't get full when we're supposed to, and we don't get hungry when we're supposed to. That's for a reason. So, phase 1, this person, right, the 30-year-old, everything's in tune. Their weight, metabolism, their body fat, and their food. So what do? They start lowering their food intake. They stop eating so much food, and their body fat. So you'll see that the purple line comes down, right? The food starts coming down, and as a result of it, the body fat follows. They lose some weight. It comes down with the food. And as a result of that, the metabolism comes down as well. Why does the metabolism come down when we lose body fat? The metabolism comes down because your body needs to adjust. Your body now has a new it has a less of an overhead. It costs less energy to maintain. And when you lose weight, it's like, think of it like a knife. When you lose weight and you've never lost weight before, you have a very sharp knife, right? And you cut some body fat and you're using that knife, and then sooner or later it gets a little bit dull. Your body, when you lose weight and you get down to phase, now we're going to talk about phase 2, okay? You lost some weight, your metabolism's a little bit lower because it wants to adjust, it wants to come back to homeostasis and get everything back in balance. So it has to account for what you've done, it has to adjust to what you've done in regards to lowering your food and lowering your body fat. All three things come down, you maintain for a little while, but something happens. That knife is now not as sharp as it used to be. Your metabolism is sensitive, right? It's sensitive. Think of your metabolism like think of fat loss like robbing a bank. Robbing a bank is the easy part. Losing fat is the easy part. Getting out of the bank unnoticed and away from the cops is the hard part. Getting out of a diet and not regaining all that weight is the hard part. When you go on a diet or a crash diet, or you lose weight or this or that, your body becomes very, very aware, and all your body's security cameras start looking at you because it's onto you. You're not smarter than your body. Let me tell you that right now. It knows what you're up to, and it will prevent it. We're not the #1 species for no reason. We put on fat for a reason. Your body wants to avoid this starvation thing, the survival mechanism. So it starts getting very, very, very sensitive. Your metabolism is sensitive when you lose weight. And what is it sensitive to? It's sensitive to overfeeding. You won't get full as fast because your body wants more food, and it won't tell you that you're full because it wants to trick you and wants you to eat more food. That way it'll be like it's raining money, and your body will take the food and store it on you because it doesn't know when it's going to get food again, so it's going to hang on to it like the reserves. So then what happens? You maintain a little while, your food, your metabolism, and your body fat are low, and you maintain that for a month or two, but you wanted to get in shape for a wedding or for the beach, right? That's usually for an event. And then you go to the event and there's always food because that's what everything revolves around usually, which is an awesome thing these days. And what do? Your food starts to go up. You start eating more, right? More than you were used to when you were at home on your diet during your routine or whatever, and your food goes up. You start eating more. And then as a result, your body fat goes up. And your body fat is going up at a little bit of a faster rate than it would, simply because your metabolism is sensitive, and when you start overfeeding, it's going to hang on to it like we just talked about. There's a problem here. There's a big problem. Your metabolism, like we talked about, the knife was not as sharp. Your metabolism is lower. It's going to recover when you start eating food. It's going to start increasing. Your metabolism will start increasing as you eat more food. However, it will not increase as fast as you're putting on body fat. They're going up at different rates. The metabolism is going up at a slower rate. Let me give you an analogy. If you cut, like when you go on a fat loss diet, it's like you're causing a metabolic wound with that knife. If you cut your arm open, just because you eat more food, I don't care how much food you eat, if you cut your arm open and you eat a lot of food, your cut and your wound in your arm is not going to heal any faster just because you're eating more food. Same thing with your metabolism. Once you hit a decent to normal amount of food, a little bit more than you're used to, your metabolism kind of stalls out and it's not going to improve or recover any faster than it can. Whereas you're putting on body fat at a rapid rate, and now you've got this weird disconnect thing going on. So, phase 4. This is the sad part. So you put on some body fat, right? Your food's back up. You put on the 10 pounds or the 5 pounds or the 3 pounds that you did initially, and there's a problem. You're depressed because you put on the weight and you want to lose the weight again. But you got to remember, your metabolism is not as sharp as it used to be. It got a little bit sharper, but it's not as high or it's not as sharp or as fast as it used to be over here. And now, what do you do again? You want to lose weight again, so you start cutting your food, and then your body fat comes down, sure, just a little bit, but the knife's not as sharp. You losing body fat isn't efficient anymore, and your metabolism comes down even more. And then you do this thing where you have this weird energy gap thing, right? We talked about here where the child or the person who never used that knife before, everything's kind of in perfect harmony. Your body fat, your food intake, your hunger signals, and your metabolism are all kind of working perfectly together. Now we have this weird disconnect, right? This is not some big event thing where like, it's like monumental. This happens hundreds and hundreds of times. It's death by 1,000 cuts. You go through a week, you're good, and then on the weekend you splurge or this or that, or you crash diet, or you binge, you starve, you cut back here, you have a cheat meal there, this, that. This happens, you do this once, you're good. You do this twice, no big deal. You do this 3 times, not the end of the world. Once you start doing this 5, 10, 15 times on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis, that's when you're going to start doing real harm to yourself. What kind of harm are you going to do? Once you get over here and you've been there for the 15th, 10th, 20th, 30th time, you're going to notice you're going to start suffering the consequences, like we talked about before from the survival mechanism. What your body's going to do is it's going to tax you. It's going to start, it doesn't want to die, right? So in order to get that energy from somewhere else, it's going to start chipping away at very essential functions in your body, like reproductive function. If you're a man, maybe your morning erections are not as strong. If you're a woman, maybe your hair doesn't look as healthy or your skin doesn't look as good. If you're a man or a woman, maybe you're not as, as energetic as you used to be, or you're tired more often, or, you have trouble chasing around the kids, or not wanting to do this, or not wanting to do that. There is a whole host of things that happen as a result of the problem, and everyone falls victim to it, or at least 95% of America. So let's go back to the diets, the 2 types of diets, direct method and indirect method, because that's how we get here in the first place. This is usually the root cause as to why this happens, the problem. So let's talk about the direct method first. The direct method of dieting refers to the obvious secret. There is an obvious secret out there in regards to dieting. It's been in front of you your whole life, but you were too distracted by it, by social media, magazines, TV, radio, internet, all these quick fixes and fad diets and all these things like that. You were too distracted by that stuff to notice the little white label on the back of all food wrappers and food boxes that legally have to be there. It's called a nutrition label, and it contains a couple things: calories, fat, carbs, protein. When you do direct dieting, or the direct method of dieting, you're manipulating directly the fats, carbs, and protein, things responsible for weight loss. 1,800 calories, 2,600 calories, 10 grams of carbs, 50 grams of protein, this, that, the other. When you manipulate those, you are directly manipulating the source that's responsible for weight loss in the first place. Let me give you an example. Say, for example, you want to save money the same way you want to lose weight. You want to save money. You come up with a budget for yourself. You track the amount of money you spend, and you track the amount of money you earn. Then you cut back here, and you spend more here, and you do this, and you do that. Then you come up with a monetary budget for your household. The same way that someone that wants to diet, counting their calories, tracks the amount of money, the food that they eat, the exercise that they do, the energy that they expend, and the energy that they take in, and then they are budgeting their food as opposed to budgeting their money. And it's a perfect way of doing it. Then the indirect method is an accident or a coincidence. All right. Say, for example, like the analogy with the budget. If you didn't save money by tracking what you're spending and earning, if you save money because you lost your wallet, or if you save money because your truck broke down and you can't go to the store and spend money, you wouldn't say, oh, I saved $500 this month. Oh, how'd you do that? Well, my truck broke down, so I couldn't go to the store. What? No, that doesn't make sense. Well, what do I mean? Indirect method of dieting refers to any kind of fad diet. No carb diet, low fat, intermittent fasting, gluten-free, vegan, carb cycling, all those kinds of things, all right? When you're doing those kinds of diets, it's not the diet that you're on that has this magical detox, cleanse, secret ingredient thing that's making you lose weight, that flicks the magic fat loss thing in your body. That's not what's happening. When you go on a 3-day lemon detox cleanse, you don't lose weight because of the magical lemons in the gallon of water that you're drinking. You're losing weight because you've had less than 100 calories for a week straight. And then you're like, oh, you gotta try this, the lemon diet. It worked great for me and I lost 7 pounds. And then you spread that on to someone else, and then they try it, and then they work, and they lose 7, 10 pounds, and then they, something happens where they gotta go to a lunch or a meeting or some kind of dinner party or something, or just food with their family, and they just can't exhibit self-control, and then they fall victim to the problem. Someone on a, say for example, a keto diet. Let's think about keto. Keto refers to the no carb diet, something like an Atkins diet. No carbs. I gotta cut away from my carbs. I'm trying to watch. I don't want to eat so many carbs. I gotta cut my carbs. The reason why you're losing weight on a low carb diet most of the time is simply because, let's think about the word carb. Carbohydrate, hydrate, water. When you go on a when carbohydrates hold water in your body. When you restrict your carbohydrates, your body doesn't really hold on to water, so you expel that water, and that water weighs obviously a couple pounds, whatever. So the person who's on a no-carb diet loses 10 pounds in 2 weeks, and like, oh, you gotta try the no-carb diet. No, you lost 10 pounds of water weight, and you think it's all fat, but really only half a pound to a pound of it was fat, and now you just lost a whole bunch of water weight and glycogen. You didn't really lose weight, but it was an indirect way of you losing weight. It didn't actually attack the source. So let's talk about the pros and cons of each. Direct method of dieting. What are the pros? Well, it works. Number 2, freedom. You have a lot of freedom. You can eat whatever you want. When you count your calories and your macros, aka fat, carbs, protein, you can literally eat whatever you want and still lose weight. I'm gonna say that again. You can eat whatever you want. It doesn't matter. Fast food, junk food, candy, this, that. You can eat donuts and lose weight on counting calories. Let me give you 2 examples. A lot of people say, oh, that's nonsense. How do you lose weight eating crap like that, this, that? Well, what do you think would happen? Let's think about the worst thing in the world that you could eat in regards to like health, right? Let's say a Big Mac and an ice cream sundae, right? If you have a Big Mac and like a cup of ice cream sundae, nothing but that for a year, you know what would happen to you? You would probably lose 60 to 90 pounds and you would die. It's the worst thing in the world. It's right. It would make you cause belly fat. No, it's just because, I mean, would you advocate that for somebody? Would you say, hey, listen, let's go ahead and do, there was this guy, his name, I'm not going to tell you his name, but he was a director, a filmmaker, and he wanted to prove a point about how bad fast food was. So what he did was he ate nothing but fast food for the 30 days straight. He ate nothing but McDonald's for 30 days straight, and he gained a lot of weight. His blood markers and his blood work was horrible, and he got really fat, and it was disgusting. And I understand the point he was trying to make. He did a great job making the film, but he forgot to do one thing. He forgot to set a calorie limit for himself. Then a different guy a couple years later said, hey man, let me do a different version of what you did. He had fast food McDonald's every meal for every day for a month, and guess what? He set himself an 1,800 calorie a day diet of just that McDonald's, and he lost 15 pounds, and he actually improved in his blood markers simply as a result of him losing weight. That goes to show you that it's not about what you eat, it's about how much you eat. No single food will get you fat, and no single food will get you skinny. So that's really it. That's really all the pros. Let's talk about the cons. There's a lot of them, and it outweighs the pros. Just so you know, I've done all these types of diets. Every single diet that I've mentioned so far, I've tried it, I've used it, I've read about it, I've done research on it, and let's keep going. So the cons. Cons of counting calories. The best food in the world at the best restaurants and mama's home cooking and the chicken parm that my grandma makes does not have a nutrition label. Sorry, can't eat it. Next con. You have to weigh everything out, you gotta count everything. It's really annoying to have to weighing out all your food and counting everything and putting everything in your food diary and getting good with conversion tables and grams and ounces and this and that, right? The next thing that's bad is that you have to plan everything out. Say for example, I plan out all my stuff and I got all my numbers and food set up, and I eat all of it for the day, and then at 8 o'clock at night my friend's like, yo, we're going to a surprise party for Jimmy, and we're gonna have a beer, and here, come have a margarita, or hey, wanna come over to pizza, and this, that, the other thing. I can't, sorry, I gotta make up some weird excuse because I'm a weirdo and I already ate all my food for that day, and I don't wanna be surrounded by people who are having a good time and who are gonna ask me, hey, you want this? Oh, why not, right? So next, the worst, probably in my opinion, the worst con with counting calories is you don't listen to your body's hunger and satiation signals. You're not going based off of whether or not you're hungry or you're full. You're going based off of whether or not you have numbers or carbs or calories left, or hey, I got 300 calories left, I could eat something, and you're not going based off of when like you get a hunger pain or you stop eating food because you're full. You're just going based off of your food diary and how much you got left. You want to listen to your body, it's obvious. And what it really does is it develops a bad relationship with food. Then you develop and you put too much stock into calories and fats and carbs and protein, and you become obsessive about it, and that's kind of all you worry about. And then all the other really important things like your family, your friends, your job, your career, and all that important stuff in your life kind of falls by the wayside because you're so hung up in these numbers. Indirect method, let's talk about the pros. No counting. When you're a vegan, you don't have to count calories. As long as it's vegan, you can eat it. If you're a no carber, and as long as something has no carbs, you can eat it, right? You don't have to have a numeric value for something. You got a small amount of freedom. You do listen to your body's signals. You can eat when you're hungry and stop eating when you're full. But if there's temporary success with this because it's not sustainable and it's not feasible. It's a good thing that you do get a little bit of temporary success. You lose 10, 15, 20 pounds on one of these type of weird fad diets. But inevitably, I don't know about you, but I don't have the discipline of a Navy SEAL. And I like, in today's society, if I'm a no carber or a vegan or this or that, and I sit at a dinner table, I would like to say yes to somebody that offers me a piece of cake because it's somebody's birthday. I want to be able to enjoy sitting with my family and friends at a table that brings people together during the holidays, because food is what puts people together, right? Normally, you don't want to have to say no to things like that just because you're on some weird fad diet that you read about in a magazine or got referred to you by someone at the office. You don't want to have to do those things. Let's talk about the cons. Inevitable failure. Almost all the time, that'll lead back to this. Because like I said, you don't want to put yourself in a predicament where you're going to say, no, okay. And then you start doing this binge starve thing. And the last con with this is also the relationship with food. A relationship with food is critical when it comes to not only maintaining your body composition, but living your life. If somebody is falling victim to that potato chip thing that we talked about, right? What does that say about them as a person? Right? You want to be in control. You want to have self-restraint. If you're doing that weird thing where you can't control yourself but to eat the potato chip, it's like you're holding a neck to your own it's like you're holding a knife to your own neck. You want to be in control of yourself. You're the captain of your own ship, right? So, how do we fix all this? Right? What's the answer? Well, I'm just going to go ahead and pull it off. Just eat so you're satisfied. Just eat so you're satisfied. That's it? That's it? No, that's not it. That's just pretty much just sums up the three things we're going to talk about. Eating so you're satisfied is really important. We want to become children again. We want to do that thing where we eat when we're hungry and we stop when we're full, right? And we also want to listen to our body's signals. We want to have freedom to eat the things that we want to eat, have no restrictions on what kind of foods we can have, and we also want to be able to lose fat, gain muscle. We want all the pros and none of the cons, right? And that really comes down to eating so you're satisfied. Just eat so you're satisfied, but it's so much easier said than done. But let's look at the three tools. Let's look at the first one. Proverbs 25:28, and then it says right here, protein. You're like, oh, what does that mean? Let's talk about it. I quoted the Bible before, and I'm going to do it again. 25:28 in Proverbs says, if you're a person without self-control, that's like having a city with no walls. When it comes to self-control and food, a lot of it is about, like I said before, being satisfied. The most satiating macronutrient, the most satiating thing you can do that you can put into your body so that you can resist having those intense cravings is simply by upping your protein intake. By upping your protein intake, you're going to curb a lot of those cravings for those foods that are leading you to this. How do we up our protein intake? I'm not talking about eating dry chicken and fish and stuff like that. I don't do that stuff. I refuse to. I want to enjoy what I eat, and I want it to be easy, quick, and I don't want to have to worry about it. How much protein do you need and where do you get it from? The secret weapon tools, we'll talk about those. But protein, we got to get that up. Second, Proverbs 25:16, and then it says right here, fist. Like literally a fist. Why does it say fist? Well, let's talk about the verse quick. Proverbs 25:16 says, if you're in the wilderness and you find honey, eat only what you need. If you overeat, or you eat and you engorge yourself, you'll get sick. That's literally what it says in the Bible. If you find honey, eat only what you need. If you don't, you'll get sick. In other words, just eat till you're satisfied. It keeps coming back to it. How much do we eat? Well, one great thing that we can do is a great amount of food to eat when you're not too sure is, see this thing right here, your fist? That's a good portion of food to eat. And here's the kicker, here's the best part. You can eat as many fists as you want. Wait a second, I can eat as many fists as I want, then what's the point of the fist? Why can't I just eat as much as I want? Because the fist counts as an increment. You can only have another fist, but you gotta do something first. Comes to our last thing. Third and final Bible quote. Ezekiel 4:11, water bottle. This is probably the best one. We talked about water before. Ezekiel 4:11 says, measure out a hin of water, hin, H-I-N, and drink it from time to time. A hin of water is about 20 ounces. You know what else is about 20 ounces? A water bottle. We're going to use a water bottle as an appetite suppressant. I know that sounds weird, but it works, and it works well. If you try this, you'll see what I mean, and you're going to be shocked by it. What you want to do on a typical day, or if you're me, or this is what I'm going to do on a typical day, and I've been following this for months, and it's been a while now, and I'll probably never go back to these other two diets because I'm having way too much fun. I got to be honest with you, and I'm seeing way too good results, as you can see. So, on a typical day, I'll get my protein out of the way. We'll talk about how you can do that. And then say for the fist and water bottle thing, let's talk about that. Say I go out to eat and I see some beautiful pasta and I want to eat it. It's got this delicious Alfredo sauce on it. I will look at my fist. I will take as much food from the plate as I think about my fist is. I'll put it onto my plate. I'll go back to my table. And before I have my fist full of food, I will drink a water bottle, right? Water bottle, and then I eat my fist full of food. If I'm not full yet, I will, guess what? I'll get up, I'll go to the table, I'll carve out a piece of cake or a pecan pie or some candy or some buffalo wings or some pizza. And pizza is a little bit of a weird one. Imagine if you folded it over or whatever, and it's about a fistful of food. I'll bring it back to my table before I eat that piece of pizza or whatever that type of food is. It's about the size of my fist. I'll have, guess what? Another water bottle. What you'll notice is that you get fuller a lot quicker. And the signal that you get when you are full, it's strong. It really, really is. It's strong. It tells you, it reinforces you. When you drink the water bottle and you have a couple of them, it only takes me about 3 or 4 fists of food to get full, as opposed to how I used to. I could eat a lot of food, trust me when I tell you. But how I used to be is I could just keep eating and eating and eating, plates and plates and plates of food. With the water, it really, really fills me up, and I get quick really, really easily. And when I do get full, I get full really, really easily, and when I do get full, it's strong and it reinforces it. I'm almost like that child with that cookie. And when I'm done and I'm full, I don't do that thing where in 10 minutes I go back to the table. It's because my body told me I was full. I'm going to listen to it. I will do this fist and I'll do the protein thing every day, always. The fist and water bottle thing I'll also do every day, but I'll do it in 2 situations, A or B. In situation A, I will do the fist and water bottle thing when A, I'm hungry, or B, when it's time to eat. When mama calls me and says, hey, we're having dinner at our house tonight. I'm like, okay, guess it's time to eat. Guess I gotta do the fist and water bottle thing. Can't wait, I'll see you there. Or we go out to a bar and my friend, hey, we're for drinks, but someone orders, hey, we're gonna get buffalo wings and stuff, and we're gonna order pizza. Okay, guess it's time to eat, right? Or the boss is like, hey, I'm taking everybody out to lunch, and we're gonna go on a meeting thing, and I brought donuts. Hey, listen, I guess it's time to eat. But when it is time to eat, I will supplement with that water bottle, and I will fill myself full of that delicious liquid. And as a result, as a byproduct, not only are you doing this to help suppress and curb your appetite indirectly, which will lead to a lower overall calorie intake, which will help you result in weight loss, but you'll also be getting hydrated, which is really, really important. It's not important as the whole calorie thing and the protein thing, but you can't say it's not good to drink water. You know, your skin will look better. You'll feel better if you exercise. You'll definitely get better exercise out of that, and you overall will be healthier just by having more water. There is a fourth and final secret weapon tool thing here, but I'm kind of debating on whether or not I should tell you about it, because it's a double-edged sword. It can either be a really good thing or a really bad thing. It can be a really good thing because it's so awesome and it's superb, but it can also be a really bad thing because it could lead you to this. You know what? I'm going to tell you. Fasting. It's not really in the Bible. It doesn't say to do it in the Bible, but it is biblical. Fasting. So Jesus fasted for 40 days. That's not what we're going to do. I fast once a week. Once a week, I don't eat anything. I only drink water. Once a week, I won't eat for 24 hours. Why do I do that? It's not because fasting will trick some fat loss mechanism in your body because it'll tell you to lose weight. Fasting will not do some magic. If you go on Google right now and you type in fasting benefits, you'll see hundreds of articles about this, that, the other thing for, you know, websites trying to get your attention so that you click on them. I don't do it for any of those reasons. The reason why I fast once a week is because it reinforces what real hunger feels like. So that when I am hungry, I'm not second guessing myself for the rest of the week. I fast on that one day, and you'll notice that hunger comes in waves. You get hungry, it goes away. You get more hungry, it goes away. You get really hungry, it goes away. You can become really, really, really hungry, and then it goes away. By the end of the day, on that one day where I fast, I am really hungry, I can't lie. And sometimes it's kind of hard, but I get used to it. And the rest of the week, when I want to know whether or not, I'll eat my protein and, I'll decide, oh, okay, I'm just be sitting at my desk, and then I'll get that hunger pain. But it happens like the kid gets it, because that one day during the week where I am fasting, I know what that real hunger feels like. I know that signal. I know how to identify it now because I practice it once a week. The reason why I say don't do this initially, maybe not at all, is because if you're not able to control yourself and you go until 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock at night and you do fasting, but then something happens where somebody says, hey, I got donuts or pizza or this or that, or you just cave in and you open up the freezer and open up that pint of ice cream, guess what's going to happen to you? So be careful. The example, how much protein and where to get it from. The protein amount. Let's just make it easy. I know that there's a lot of research based on 0.8 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass, but that's a little bit complicated for this. This is really mostly like an introductory kind of a thing, but let's ballpark it. Women should have about 100 grams of protein per day. Men should have about 150 grams of protein per day. Just ballpark numbers. Where do you get your protein from? Well, you should do two things for protein. You should have a shake, and you should have a protein meal. Get those two things out of the way, and then you can be a human and have freedom and go on with your day and do the fist and water bottle thing. But before you do that, you want to get your protein out of the way in the form of A, a shake, and B, a meal. Let's talk about the shake first. A shake, protein powder. I talked about it before. It's a useful tool. I'm not going to get 150 grams worth of protein from a protein powder. I'm going to get a part of that from protein powder. And it's a good tool because it helps me get somewhat close to my goal. The shake, so 2 scoops of protein, that's 50 grams. I got 100 left because I have 150 total. So I will want to bump that shake up. I'll put a couple other things in there. I've got options. I prefer to use 2 Chobani yogurts and 2 scoops of cottage cheese. Now you might say to yourself, oh, I don't like cottage cheese. Okay, relax. What are your alternatives? I don't care what kind of diet or whatever you decide to do, but whatever you're going to do is going to be a little bit challenging or going to be hard. And depending on what you choose, it's going to be really hard and you might fall victim to this. What I'm offering you with this water bottle, food, protein, fist thing, I don't have a name for it yet. Actually, I call it the Bible diet. But what I'm offering you here is the easiest way to do something hard and still be able to live your life and still look good and be able to do all these great things. So you might have to suck it up and just have a couple bites of a food that you might not really, really, really love. But with this shake, yeah, cottage cheese, it actually is kind of sweet, but put some berries in there, and it actually tastes really good, the shake, but I can't say that you might like it because I'm used to this stuff by now. I gave it to my friend the other day, and he said, "Wow, this is actually really good." I didn't tell him what was in it, and I was like, "Here, try this." He was like, "Oh, what is this?" And I told him, and he was like, "All right, wow." What other choices do we have? So my shake is out of the way. 2 chobanis, 2 scoops of yogurt, and cottage cheese. That's a total of about 100 grams of protein. 2/3 of the way there. I just got 50 grams left. In my meal, I want to hit those 50 grams. You could have meat, beef, chicken, fish. I prefer not to. Not that I don't eat meat. I do love meat and stuff like that. But it's annoying to have to clean up, turn on the oven, cook it, get out the Reynolds wrap. Oh, wait, I forgot to defrost my chicken from the freezer last night because I shop at Costco and I put everything in the freezer, and then I have to clean up after myself. I like things that I can just take out of the refrigerator, scoop into a blender, scoop into this, throw it in there, throw it in a jug, chug it, or I prefer to do something that I enjoy a little bit more, like eggs. I really enjoy eggs. I'll have maybe 3 or 4 eggs a day, 2, 3, 4 eggs a day, maybe a half can of beans, and that's almost 50 grams of protein right there. And then to make the beans taste a little bit better, put a little bit of Frank's Red Hot, take a little bit of Parmesan cheese, I'll sprinkle it in there too, throw it in the microwave for like 30 seconds to a minute, I'll mix it around. Beans have fiber, help me go to the bathroom, helps me digest a little bit. It's really good, and I got my 50 grams of protein. I've officially, between my shake and my meal, I've hit my 150 grams of protein target for the day, and now I can go on, I can do my fist water bottle thing, and I can enjoy the rest of my day, and I look forward to every minute of it. Oh guys, I really can't stress this to you. Please, please, I urge you to take my advice on this. If you want to know what your other protein source choices are, simply go to Google and type in macro protein sources. Click on images. You'll see a whole bunch of images, and go ahead, pretty self-explanatory at that point, but there are a lot of them, and you have options. One great tool that I utilize is Amazon Fresh to get my food. I feed myself on $50 a week. $50 a week, and they send my staple foods for me to hit my protein targets. And it's really funny because, as you know, my dad, he leaves the house every Saturday to go to Stop and Shop and go wait online and go park in the parking lot, in a crowded parking lot, and have to do his manual shopping himself. Mine gets delivered, and I love it. It couldn't make my life any easier. It really goes well and serves the purpose of this thing. So let's talk about the fist and water guide. How you go about doing this. You did your protein thing, you got that up for the day, and now it's time to be a normal human. You go to a restaurant, you go here, you go there, sit down with the family. You should always open up with a bottle of water. That should be the first thing you do. Drink it fast, drink it slow, drink it hot, drink it cold, with ice or without ice. It doesn't matter. Just drink the 16, 20 ounces of water. Then have your fistful of food. I don't care if it's dessert. It doesn't matter what it is, or a Big Mac. You can have whatever you want as long as it's a fist. Then have another water bottle. Then have another fist of food, or another water bottle. Do this once, do this twice, do this 3 times until you feel full. Once you feel full, once you get that slight full feeling, hang on, finish the fist of food, finish it because it's not that much, finish it, go ahead and enjoy it, eat a little bit slower and finish it, but remember, you did feel full. You don't want to feel full 2 times or 3 times or wait 10 minutes and feel full again. You did feel full. So once you do, you finish that fistful of food, slam another water bottle or glass of water, whatever, and you'll see what I'm talking about. That last water bottle is most important because it will reinforce that full feeling you got a minute and a half ago when you were taking that bite of pizza. You'll see what I'm saying. Listen, we summarized everything, guys. I really, really hope that you take my advice with all of this. If you need me to go ahead and elaborate on any kind of aspect or matter that you see on this board, don't hesitate, reach out to me. On Twitch, other people ask me questions. If you just want to sit there and see what other people ask me and see what I have to say about it, I love talking about this stuff. I could go on and on and on, and people really do need help. So I thank you. I urge you to give this a shot, and God bless.